12:02, we'll call the meeting of the Fire and Police Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Bill Jenks.
Here.
Fred Moble.
Here.
Ron Stanko. Fred Levering.
Here.
And Steve Bruner will be absent.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
No.
Being that no public comments, we'll move on to Western Berks ambulance.
You have our monthly report. It will be changing. Come hopefully next month, we found out we do some things differently. We have asked for a letter. We haven't had one in a long time designated out, but we had 231 calls in the month.
I'm sorry, I'm just going all over the place here.
That's all right. So, yeah, that's year to date. That's was 1/1 to 12/31. I don't know why interesting. Call breakdown. It'll be coming out in a different format that you can actually print it out. Get it? It'll be graph form. I don't think there's a letter we asked for from the municipalities because we don't have up-to-date ones. That designates Western Berks as the primary EMS service. We'll also help get us grants. Got them from everyone from West Reading all the way up past Wernersville, waiting for yours, and a couple up in the northern part.
Okay. Well, we can take care of the designation letter now, and we'll entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny, recommending the council authorizing sending the Western Berks Ambulance Association designation letter dated January the 13th.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move it on to council. That'll be easy. Hey, any other questions for Tony? Glad to see you're on 2 feet.
Oh, I'm still sore, trust me. Still sore. I think I got another month of that, but still I have,
Thank you for your report. Okay, moving on to Westside Emergency Management. Tom.
All right. We're starting off fairly quietly here. I have a reminder in there for elected officials to attend the meeting on Wednesday at the county for referencing anything having to do with the emergency management system. That's this Wednesday at 8 a.m. or 6:30 p.m., about 2 hours. For either those who haven't attended or even if you have attended and you feel like a refresher, you're certainly invited. I also had a note out for the NIMS updates for requirements and to those taking classes and information there for online. I know that got forwarded out to everyone, and I don't know what the paperwork update is there, but hopefully we have that includes anyone and everyone from any department on up. So I just have that in there as a reminder that
We heard
everybody.
Is everyone heard?
Yes.
That's good. I will have, and I have down here to be announced, future planning for again another open house up there at the Emergency Operations Center, and sometime in the near future, probably in February, a meeting again with the police, fire, and we will include ambulance this time too, emergency medical services. Might be a good idea to sit in with us there, but anyway. We have some opportunity to participate in a mass casualty drill at the hospital tower. Hope is planning in the near future. We're having a preliminary meeting ahead of time. The drill itself will be held actually in Coon Township, but we have been invited to sit in on like a planning meeting, and we'll, I guess, have more information as time goes on with that. It's a good idea that they're working on that. And I did call, this is just kind of an FYI, about drones, which have seemed to kind of have subsided in numbers, but I did call the airport out here, Zach Tempesco's the chief administrator out there, and I called Zach, I said, Zach, what are they seeing for power and what they found? And he said, absolutely nothing. So, for those who might have been wondering, and it of course seems to have died out and disappeared, but he did say that there have been no sightings other than nothing. He said absolutely nothing. The guys in the town are having contacted with anything, so if anybody saw any around here, why? Did you?
There were 20 of them that flew over my house 3 weeks ago. Called John.
Sounds like something political to me, but.
It was weird. It wasn't into her house.
See, I told you. Anyway, so we seem to be clear there. So anyone have any questions or comments for me here?
I do.
Yes.
In listening to the reporting of the Los Angeles fires,
Yes.
one comment that was made was that people were looking for information which was not readily available. They were looking for information about what to do. Do they have to cut off their utilities? Do they have to cut off their gas?
You mean as they left their house or
Yeah,
property?
yeah, but
With
these
2
were
minutes notice.
these are the kind of loose ends they're trying to tie up, and they were looking to EMS or something,
Or EMA or their.
or something, for a place to get information so they can get these things, kinds of things done.
Well,
Do you have anything like that?
Hopefully we'll never have a conflagration
Well,
like
I
that.
understand that.
No, I know. But you never know what strange things
As they
can
grow.
happen.
No. No, you get a train derailment.
Well, yeah, right. That could cause enough of a problem.
Yeah.
And you leave your house and leave something on or off.
Mhm. Yeah, so they were hoping for some
Well,
place to look.
I'll look into that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Public information officer. I saw Rick Chartle, I guess, is back doing that.
Rick has decided he wanted to stick around and do something with the fire department, and they have assigned him to the Springs Fire Department as their public information officer.
Which is a good idea.
Yeah, there are.
He's good at that.
Yeah, he is good at that. There are plenty of classes, I've had a couple, but, they're very worthwhile. They set you up, and, every time there's a public information session on TV now, you become critical of how they're setting it all up, but everyone seems to have kind of followed the same, pattern, I guess I'll call it. So but it's a good idea. Well, let's see what else.
Any other
Anyone
questions?
else?
Where, just those, where are we talking about the Department of Emergency Services, the training, I guess, that you went through for the year?
I didn't put it on as an agenda
Oh,
item, but
letters.
I didn't even know if you knew we got that. I received that.
I got a
From
copy
Phil
from the
Spence.
county. Phil did send me one that showed like the classes I was at and that our plan is up to date and that kind of thing. So, I guess that is it.
I was just sharing it
Yeah,
more for
that's-
informational purposes with the committee.
No, it's good to know and mention here, have it up there, so that's good. We're current, we're required to go to they're only required to give 4 classes a year out there, the county. They provide more. It's usually about 9 or so that they have. We usually skip Thanksgiving, Christmas, and July for people around. And I was at, maybe 1 or 2 there, I think. Most of our guys go to at least that many, or pretty many. The other people who help me out are there often. If there's 10 or 12 people in the class, a side can have half of them there. Could be 5 or 6 of our guys are there. so we have good representation, but all they record is my attendance there. And the bottom there with the plan, yeah, I think I told you before, there were like 11 out of 67 current in the county, and of course we were one of them. I don't know if they count us as one, or each town as one, I'm not sure. But we're up to date, we should be, pay me to do that. So I do it, that's for sure. So, yeah, we are, and if anybody ever has a question about it, just ask me. Always available. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You got it.
Okay, moving on to fire department, Ethan.
Good afternoon. The first item on my list there, the new engine, the guys will be bringing that down around 12:30 to the lower lot. If we want to go out and take a look at it, it'll be down here. If not, I'd gladly invite you all to come up to the firehouse where it's warm inside to take a look at it. Let that up to the committee to decide how they want to approach that.
They'd have to do that individually, because we'd be moving the meeting.
So individually.
No more than 3.
So the second item here on my agenda is to review the January activity report. To date, we've had, as of this morning, 137 incidents that we've dispatched to, 76 in the borough, 61 have been mutual aid. Total QRS for the month was 38 with 12 patient contacts. You can see the disbursement of how we're providing mutual aid, where we're going. And our turnout time, our average 90th percentile turnout time is 2 minutes and 37 seconds. We're looking at the times and the data, we're finding out that there's approximately 17% of our runs were greater than 120 seconds. So we'll start working on bringing that down. Looking at the time delay from being upstairs to downstairs, implementing some other avenues to get on the radio faster and out the door faster. We had an average of 4.39 personnel responding to incidents for the month so far. 133.25 hours of training have been done. The busiest day of the week is Wednesday between the hours of 10 and 11. It seems to be our busy time of day. Overall for the month so far, there's been 21 overlapping incidents. Some of those have been on major incidents where we've brought staff in or recalled our off-duty staff. That kind of changes those numbers around, so I would say it's a little less than 21 that we've seen so far this month. We did have one incident where there were 3 calls that were going on simultaneously that our department was dispatched. So can't do much about some of those overlaps that exist because we don't have so much staff to get out. On the screen is the heat map for January 1st today, up to today, showing the disbursement of where our calls are here in the borough, as well as the outlying areas where we're providing mutual aid. From a fire inspection standpoint, completed 14 inspections so far this month. Have a few more that are scheduled later this week. For the month of January, there were 23 that were on our list to complete, so about over 50% for the ones that were to be completed here this month. That's our activity for the month so far.
Just one thing on we talk a lot about the mutual aid. Through our agreement with Spring Township, we were dispatched to a working structure fire in Spring Township the other week. And as a result, the chief saw that we were going to be there for a while and activated our mutual aid agreement, and which brought in a ladder from Blandon,
Yes.
which I got numerous phone calls about that. But that's part of it. If you have a crew and you got the truck there, that's great. And we have an engine someplace else, or
Yeah, depending on where the location of the incident is, We'll either bring in the ladder from Blandon and an engine from Berks Borough to cover, or we'll bring up the ladder truck from Adamstown to cover the area. And it also is dependent on who from the off-duty career staff are coming in. If I have enough people there to staff our engine and get that out, then we'll bring just typically the ladder truck over.
So, you know, as much as we give aid to other municipalities, they in turn are giving aid to us when we need it. So I just wanted to throw that in.
If there's any questions on the report, I'll answer those. If not, the next item on my agenda is just give you a brief update on the deputy chief's hiring process. We had a total of 16 applicants. We narrowed that down to 5 who sat for their written exam on Saturday. We should have the results from the written exam either late today or tomorrow to be able to set up to schedule the interviews, which are coming the first week, Friday the 7th. Friday the 7th will be their interviews with the panel, and then we'll have a second interview later in the month of February. We're still on track to be able to come to the March council meeting with the proposal for a conditional offer. The next item there is the entry-level firefighter EMT position. We did extend a conditional offer to the number 5 on our certified list, who accepted that and has started going through the onboarding process. I'm asking to make a motion here to either table, approve, or deny an unbudgeted expense to fit that new firefighter out with the protective equipment and uniforms not to exceed $6,500 pending successful completion of the physical, background, and psychological evaluations.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. And to further expand on our current situation with the civil service entry-level list, January 11th, the number 6 candidate sent me an email to formally remove himself from the list, which means that our list that we had as of June 2024 is now exhausted. We don't have anybody on that list. In our budget meetings for 2025, we've discussed, at that point I had one firefighter that had resigned in October. We had discussed about potentially replacing that person at the end of the 3rd or 4th quarter here in 25 to prepare to meet the obligations of the contract for 26. Now knowing that we have nobody on our certified civil service list, I'd like to make a motion to be able to start the process to develop an entry-level list. So respectfully ask to make a motion to table, approve, or deny activating Civil Service Commission to establish a testing process and timeline for creating a certified entry-level firefighter EMT hiring list.
Someone wish to make that motion?
Make the motion, I have a question before.
Yes, sir.
Is this a 2-part process? The first part is setting it up, and the next part is activating, or do you do both at the same time?
So we would activate civil service to establish and agree to the process and timeline for this hiring. And so,
start the process of hiring immediately.
yeah, we would start the process of testing immediately. The civil service process for entry level, we have changed it over the time, depending on what the needs were. The last time was to do an expedited hiring for the June 2024, looking at people who had the candidate physical agility testing certificate already. With this go around, I'm proposing that we send them through the full candidate physical agility testing process. So your timeline is now not going to be short. We're looking at being prepared in the 3rd quarter, if not the beginning of the 4th quarter, with a certified list.
So we need to fill a spot.
By the contract, we have to be able to fill that 12th operational firefighting position by the end of the contract in 2026.
All right, so it makes sense to do this.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. The next topic on my agenda items here was that myself and Chief Phillips have had some ongoing discussions about the location of the Police Special Services Unit. We've decided that, in the current setting, it's not impacting our operations there at the firehouse to have it continue to be stored in the basement. We have the ability, spoken with Chief Phillips about moving it in and out as it's needed, which he's given me the approval to do so. The question or the concern that comes up is the way that it's being powered to charge the batteries. So it is a 220 electrical service on that special services unit. It's now into an adapter that goes into your standard 120 service that we have at the firehouse. So I'm looking to upgrade an outlet in the basement so that we can plug the 220 line directly into a 220 rated outlet instead of going through adapters for fire safety reasons.
Is that why that's clicking?
That's the inverter. I've had our mechanics looking at that last year, but I just think it's that old that it's gonna need a new inverter.
Sounds like a PD budget item to me.
So as it sits, I mean, it's not impacting our day-to-day operations. It's not in the way currently having it there. Eventually, looking at as our department grows, as the police department grows, and space becomes available, looking at other accommodations. But as I've talked with Chief Phillips, we're good having it there as it sits. I'm just respectfully going to make a motion here to do upgrading of the electrical service to accommodate that 220 special need for the special services.
Do you have a price?
I can get a price. It may be something. Is that something?
I can get your price.
Yeah.
Can we ballpark it now to have it not to exceed?
As long as there's enough room in the panel, which I would assume there should be enough room in the panel, maybe $3,000, something like that.
Do 5 to be safe.
Yeah.
Is there a combination of cost for inverter, cost for location requires a location, right? Do we know where it's going, or are we just upgrading it and then looking for someplace to put it, or
That's a good question. As it sits now, the position that we store the special services unit in at the firehouse would not impact the area that we have designated for potential future upfitting of a physical fitness area in our basement. It will not. The biggest concern is making sure that the electrical wiring is adequate to provide the power that unit needs to maintain.
So what's the possibility that the new inverter is going to require different electrical outfitting that doesn't exist there now? Or is that not an issue?
I don't know if that
It really shouldn't. It's supposed to be a 220 line, and it's somehow rigged into a 120. So that truck needs 220 to keep all the components charged and running. So it shouldn't change. So it can stay right where it is.
Is there, I know we had talked about this and then we had to cut the budget, but there was discussion about moving that vehicle over to the garage.
We had that conversation. So after our January staff meeting, it was John, Ethan, Greg, myself, and Jim. And I mean, the one place it could go at the Public Works garage, it's going to constantly be moved or in the way or something, and we have the same issue of having to run the 220 line. So it was decided, I think, from everybody's perspective, it's best to keep it where it is now.
The other concern would be they're going to be parking their vehicles in front of it, and it'll be dark 30 or a weekend, and we need it, and
I know our guys are not gonna wanna move a backhoe out of the way. So then we're calling in the borough crew, you're gonna be paying overtime for that, and then we're gonna have to call them and bring it, to park it back later. You know, it's just, it's not very
It
convenient.
was just, I remember we had talked about it, I just was wondering where that had, lasted.
So I'll amend my motion here. Respectfully making a motion to table, approve, or deny upgrading the electrical system to accommodate a 220 electrical need for the special services unit at the firehouse not to exceed $5,000.
Someone wish to make that motion?
Yeah, I'll second
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Moving on, next item to discuss here is we've noticed early in January here that there's some mortar coming out from underneath the capstones along the front face of the Penn Avenue side of the firehouse. Some of my staff have noticed 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch size pieces of mortar laying on the apparatus apron. There's noticeable spots where it's either missing completely or it's pushed out where it's going to fall. With noticing this issue, I talked to Borough Manager Bear as well as Greg here to get some sort of an idea of what we can do, how bad of an issue this is, and try to develop a plan to move forward that to make some repairs to minimize the deterioration of that and to minimize or reduce the safety concerns of having something fall on an apparatus or an employee while they're doing their job there at the firehouse. So Greg and Steve?
Me and Craig. Yeah.
Oh, you and Craig. Greg and Craig came over and looked at it, and if it's okay, I'm gonna hand it off to Greg here to kind of explain what they saw.
Beginning of last year, we did do an inspection with a contractor. The building is in need of some restoration, especially along the capstones and a lot of the upper brick. And I think it's been an issue for some years now. We got a price. It's something that, and it's a little bit of off topic of this, but it's got to do with the building. We really should start moving forward in some of that restoration, because especially with a winter like we're having now, all the moisture and then all the freeze and thaw is going to keep pushing the mortar out and allowing the weather to get in, and eventually it's going to start hurting the inside of the building. This year, you know, the maintenance department, we can temporarily fix some stuff, but it's just temporary. Even if we took one side of the building and, you know, put some money towards it and keep working our way around the building, but it's all at the top, so that's where all the weather's going to get in. It's something we should really start to take a look at.
Is there any item in the budget for this?
No, it got cut from the budget.
Is there any estimate?
The total estimate was $75,000. That was last year.
That was last year.
That's last year. So it'll be a little bit more, you know, if I get another estimate. Sure.
Well, is that the entire building or just the front?
That's the entire building. Yeah. And I believe it's the company that did do some of the final restoration, because there were some problems with that building years ago. And, you know, they did a pretty nice job, but it's a nice building. We should try to keep it up.
So, knowing what Greg and Craig had looked at and looking at some the safety concerns that go along with it, I'd like to get approval today to work further with Greg and Craig to come up with some sort of intermediate solution, whether it's an elastic caulking going around the front just to prevent anything further from coming out, until we can get a strategic plan in place to move forward with a renovation or a repair that needs to happen.
What do you think roughly the cost of that would be?
To temporarily fix it, you're not looking at a lot of money. I mean, we're going to do the work, $500 or something like that. You know, it's just caulking around the bottom, but it is temporary.
I understand it's a Band-Aid, but
Yeah.
I think this needs to come back to finance for a permanent solution. And, yeah, we don't want the building crumbling. I mean, the Borough was only built in 1970.
And with some of the bricks that are breaking off,
RV,
the safety issue,
Yeah.
there is a safety issue with some of
Late
the
90s.
bricks falling out. It's just the face peeling off, but that's from the water getting back
Yeah.
behind it.
So it's only the facade or it's the whole building?
It's just the facade. Structurally, as far as I know, I'm not an engineer, but from being up there and looking at it, structurally it's fine. We just need to take care of some of the problem areas before they become bigger problem areas.
Well, they've had some experience with bricks and stone, so when you're doing the facade, are they comfortable that they can do the fascia at the top and lower the sides? Or do they have to do the whole front to make any sense? It's coming back, going back and forth, because that's you're paying anyway.
So what you're asking?
Well, what I'm asking is, if there's a way to do it piecemeal, it seems to me that's not the right way to do it.
If it's gotta be piecemeal, then you pick a side. You pick the worst side, and then you do sides. Because the bounce around, it's just not worth it.
I'll make a motion that we, go and proceed with the temporary repairs, not to exceed $1,000, and that this be, given to Finance Committee for further discussion, for a permanent, resolution.
Can I ask you another question? Is $1,000 going to do anything compared to the whole thing's going to be 75?
Well, so what Ethan's concern is out front, under the coping, because it's mortar over flashing between the precast caps. And that stuff tends to not adhere really well, so it falls out, and we're just gonna caulk it.
That sounds like a repair you do every day of the week.
Yeah, it's not a big deal,
I'll second those.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And then just get the, written quote, then have it done, present that to finance.
We'll work on that. Thank you, Greg. The last order of business on my agenda here is that the fire department, as well as Captain Nestor's daughter and former spouse, have been notified an invite to come down to the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend, May 3rd and 4th in Emmitsburg, Maryland, at the National Fire Academy. Bring this up to your attention. I would like to get as many from our department that work with Captain Nestor to be able to go down and participate. We have the opportunity to have up to 4 members in the Honor Guard, as well as 1 or 2 of us serving as family guides for the services. Overall, that'd be 6 of our members being able to go down and participate. I think it's a very important aspect for our members who knew Derek, and give them an opportunity for some more closure to what had transpired here in May of '24. So I'm respectfully presenting a motion here to table, approve, or deny, starting the process to identify coverage needs to handle covering the borough while the department is out of service to attend his formal indoctrination into the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial in Emmitsburg.
So you're also asking for the cash to pay for the trip back?
I am not asking for any cash at this point to do anything. The members who are participating in the Honor Guard and the family escort would be provided housing on the National Fire Academy campus. Those other members, we would either have them come down for the candlelight service on May 3rd and then come home, or stay overnight in a hotel for 1 night and participate in the services on Sunday in the morning. I don't intend to see if I don't have any intent to have any money changing hands, or any expenses come out of this, even for coverage here back in the borough.
It would seem appropriate that we at least cover the cost for the families that are coming down and making payment on labor.
So the family, as far as like Derek's daughter, and
Yeah, I don't know how.
that's all covered.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's all covered through the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation.
Go on, yeah, for our own staff.
We can do that.
You should.
I don't know.
Right,
I don't
it's the
know.
right thing to do.
I don't know offhand what the hotel rate would be, but at this point, I just want to start the process. So I will have more coming to you in February.
Yeah, a couple of meetings.
Yeah, I mean, that, and are any of those members of volunteers? Because if they are, I believe relief can pay for them. So, if I recall how that's worded. So that's an option too, but one way or the other, it's not gonna come out of the pockets,
No, and
individual pockets. But
again-
let's go ahead and get this approved. I originally, when Chief told me about this, I had a thought was, well, gee, we're gonna have all these new people who really did not know him. As I've always said, we work as a team, okay, whether it be here in council, the police department, the fire department, and public works, we work as a team, okay? Even though some of our members of the fire department may not have known him, they know of him professionally, so, and they are part of the family and of the team. So I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much, committee. I have nothing further on my agenda.
May I ask a question, Chief?
Yes, sir.
With the apparatus, with the new truck and so on, how do we operate utilizing the equipment?
So both the ladder and the engine?
No, and there's two ladders,
There's one ladder and two engines.
or two,
Yes.
I'm sorry, two ladders.
So right now, the call types are split between the ladder and the engine. So anything dealing with a structure, so an automatic fire alarm in a commercial or residential, a fire reported in a commercial or residential, or a hazardous materials type of incident, the ladder truck is responding first. The EMS or QRS calls, accidents, and vehicle fires, brush fires, those types of incidents are being handled with the engine. So we're starting to split which piece is the primary response piece when it goes out the door in the borough. Anything outside of the borough, it's dependent on what that fire company in that municipality wants us to bring.
But how do we use the two engines?
So the new engine is the primary engine. The old engine, the KME that we replaced, is a backup in case the ladder goes down or the other engine would need to go for service. They can easily jump back into that one, move some equipment over, and it's ready to install.
It's similar to when we had the ladder in the tower.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to police department. John.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have a few things, I'll get right into it. First, when the borough joined BCERT back in 2007, they signed an agreement joining the team. Under Section 6 of the agreement, governments, it states that the chief of police or a full-time designee would be a member of BCERT's board. What has happened is this has gone through many different departments, have changed chiefs over the years. So the BCERT solicitor has requested that each municipality pass a resolution naming who your chief is, and then one alternate should I not be available to attend a meeting. So that way, the municipality knows that the person there that is voting on things is actually authorized to do so by the municipality. So the solicitor for BCERT has come up with a resolution. It does not have to be this resolution. It could be something that Chris comes up with, but that they are looking for a resolution naming the chief and an alternate. And I would ask that that alternate be Sergeant Kevin Quinter. The reason why Sergeant Kevin Quinter, I've talked to the lieutenant about it. You might think that may be the person that would be first in line, but he doesn't really know a lot about BCERT. He's not really involved in it. Sergeant Quinter is. He's actually a negotiator. He's an assistant team leader for the negotiators, so he knows what's going on, is familiar with the day-to-day operations of the team. And I've talked to both of them, and the lieutenant's fine with it. It's something else he wouldn't have to worry about, he said. So that's why I'm asking it to be Sergeant Quinter, be named. So myself and Sergeant Quinter. So, you know, when I would retire, it would be something that we're trying to keep municipalities keeping this type of thing up to date. So if Kevin would leave the team, or when I retire, that type of thing, this kind of thing would have to be passed again.
Do you have to be a member of the team in order to be the designated representative?
No, it just says that the wording is, the agency shall be governed by a board of chiefs consisting of the chief of police of each agency member or his or her full-time police officer designee within his or her police department. So it doesn't have to be a member of the team.
So the only thing I would ask you is, you mentioned description that that person will be authorized to speak on your behalf at meetings. Is that official, that there's no wiggle room there? He gets to vote yes or no?
Yes, they would vote yes, so to know.
Don't have to call home.
No, they get to do the vote.
Do you have any issues with the resolution that you're on?
No, I mean, it just expresses what you've asked for and what the server is looking for.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion and second to adopt the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. Second, I just wanted to give you an update on our hiring process. As of this morning, we are sitting at 54 applications. We have a handful that already have the academy. We have a few that have varying degrees of college, so that they get extra points should they pass everything. A few veterans. There's only a small handful of veterans that have college. So, but there are a couple, so they're looking at, receiving the most additional points if they pass written, PT, and oral interviews. The test is March 2nd. It's being held at the Wyomissing Junior Senior High School. We're going to do it in the cafeteria. That's going to start at 10 a.m. Those that pass the test, the test that's being given is to the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police. I got it like I've done last time. This will be the third time I use the test, and this will be the second time where I purchased the version that we can grade it right then and there. So I'm going to have all of our supervisors there that day, and when we finish the test, we're going to grade the test, so everybody's going to know whether they pass or not. We're going to know whether they pass or not. All those that pass are then going to be taking the physical agility test, which is scheduled for 1 o'clock at Alvernia's Indoor Complex. This time of year we're worried about weather, so we make sure that we can get it done. As we always do, we're having the Reading Police Department's Academy staff run that test so that we have certified instructors with the PT test.
So let me ask you a question. With regard to the points, I know with the federal government, if you're military, you get 10 points right off the bat. Does that apply for?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that the veterans, the few that we have, they're going to receive the 10 extra points, but they only get it, they have to first pass everything. In other words, if they need a 70 to pass the written, if they get a 60, they can't use those 10 points to pass the written. they will have needed to pass the written, the oral exam, and the PT test. And at that point, let's say that their final score is an 85. They'll get that 10 extra points to be that their final score is a 95. If they have college, they can get additional points after that. They can't use these extra points to pass the test. These points are added once the testing is complete and they have passed all the requirements.
So if you have 20 people that pass the test, and 5 of them are college graduates, they're already in the top 5.
Well, they could have gotten a 70 on the test, just passing it, and if they're college graduates, it depends on the number of credits they get, that they have, determines how many points they receive.
Versus,
So it's not strictly college graduate, like military experience.
No, it depends on how many credits they have, depends on how many extra points you get for college. That's the way the civil service rules read.
Sliding scale.
and you
Sliding scale.
you could also have a college graduate get a 70 and say get 5 bonus points, but you could have a non-college graduate score a 95.
Right.
What I'm asking is, if upon the test itself, if everybody's taking the same test, and they all get different scores, is there 10 points added to the people that are college graduates? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like they have to take sociology or animal husbandry or what. But the military, if you're military, you get 10 points, period. You have to get private or general. So you have another characterization of where'd you go to college and what classes did you take, and then that's another story.
Ron, if you go back into, I forget the title of the document, hiring process.
It's a civil service.
Civil service
Police
hiring, this is
department
all
rules and
spelled out
regulations.
in there.
Well, I'm asking because there's 55 people here. This is like a cattle call now. It's not just 5 or 6 people. There's a lot of people here, and you have a lot of different types of.
But
You
it-
said it depends how many credits they have. And it's not based on what class they took.
No, it's
And it had to be probably a
civil
C or
service-
better or something like
The
that.
civil service rules don't mention anything about classes, it mentions credits.
Okay, so credits only, not grades, credits.
Credits.
But that doesn't matter until they take the
Right.
Right,
But
but they don't
it's
get
not
any of
at the
that
end.
until they first pass.
Pass every test.
What's the max amount you could get, you know?
So if somebody say scores 100 points on their written, like, they score 100, and they're number 1 at 100, and they have the max college, that would get them 10 extra points. And if they are a veteran, that would get them another 10. So your max score is 120 points.
And so, and the credits for college credits are a maximum of 10.
Correct.
But it's sliding.
54 applicants, I think, is, God, we haven't had 54 people apply for police
There-
officers in ages.
Right, there's a couple borough residents in there as well. There's, like I said, there's a few that have Act 120. There's a few that have college. So I think the steps that were made to try to encourage people to come in and apply have certainly worked. So,
Great.
No,
I'm sorry?
nobody's a police officer in there.
I believe that there are, those that are 120. And this application, if you remember, we had that shortened a bit. So their prior work experience is going to be in their background that they're going to fill out. That's very
Yeah, we just
expensive.
changed the rules to make that easier, so.
Right.
Good, well done. Now Ethan put up pictures. When yours come down.
Is the Act 120?
Thank you, Randy, for your help with that too.
Is Act 120 worth more than anything?
If they already have Act 120, no, that's not in the civil service rules. They don't get
You
extra
don't have
points
to pay
for
for it.
that.
Trust me, it means we don't have to pay for it.
No, I understand.
Yeah, and also doesn't, you don't have to wait 6 months for that. You can.
C. Short C.
Should we
I was approached by Councilman Weinhofer about the intersection of Douglas and Van Reed Road. You'll see some pictures that we have here. And what his concern is
there's an individual that lives there that parks his truck at his house. And you can see, I've taken some pictures here, not this snowstorm, but this was going back one of the other ones we've had already this year. So I wanted to take a look. And as you can see, as you look to the left, the truck's generally in that location. His concern is how it blocks the view. Now, he tells me that he was actually involved in a crash there, but they didn't call us. But what he wanted to know is, what can we do, if anything, there? He was asking about maybe, can we put a mirror up across the street to help see traffic perhaps coming Van Reed Road? So I looked at a couple different things. First, I looked at how many crashes have we actually had on Van Reed Road. I went back to 2000, what our records management system goes back to. And on Van Reed, this is a general breakdown from Park Road to Spring Street. We've had 65 since 2000. In looking at the picture that's on the screen there, if you look to the left, that's going to be the 700 block of Van Reed. To the right, going towards Spring, that's going to be the 800 block right there. So at that intersection since 2000, we've had one crash since 2000, and that was in 2012, in July of 2012. That was actually involving a person on a motor scooter that swerved to avoid an animal in the road, crashed, went over the handlebars. So it didn't have anything to do with line of sight. The other was, we had one in 2002 in August where there was some construction going on up there, and a truck kind of got turned around in that construction and was trying to back out and hit a parked unoccupied car. So with that area right there, we have not had any crashes that involve line of sight due to that truck. Most of the crashes that have occurred are in the 800 block, and if you go a couple pictures over to the right, you can see the entrance to Palmer Candy right there. And that's where crashes have actually occurred. Trucks turning in and out of there, or actually, once they get on that parking lot, hitting cars with it's not the biggest lot. So, I looked at what our large vehicle ordinance states, and it states that vehicles that are in excess of 14,000 pounds or in excess of 80 inches can't be parked in zones, zoning districts R1, R1A, R2, R2A, R3, R3A, R4, C1, and TC.
So basically all your
So-
residential zoning districts.
Right. So this is a map of the zoning districts for the borough, and that area that's right there in yellow are the homes right there, and then in blue, Van Reed Road is actually in blue.
This is not the-
So that section is TC.
No, it's not. It's I1. TC is.
Oh yeah, I-1, I'm sorry. I wrote the wrong thing. So it's I-1. So the street is allowed to have larger vehicles parked on it. And I believe that's because of Palmer Candy being there, and they have trucks in and out and probably have to sit there sometimes and wait for room or whatever. So,
No.
I'm bringing this to the discussion in that, as it stands right now, that truck is allowed by the ordinances of the borough to be parked where it's at. It's in a legal parking spot. It would fit the definition of a large vehicle, but again, because of where it's parked and what that district is, it's legal to be there. There have not been reported crashes to us that have to do with that line of sight. Again, Mr. Weinhofer said to me that he was involved in one that was because they didn't call us, so we don't have a report about that. So that would be one in 25 years that we know about. So in looking at this, I don't know that there's, as far as North Wyomissing Boulevard in Van Reed, there's no stop sign on Van Reed at North Wyo. There are stop signs at North Wyo and Van Reed. But this is a block in between, so I don't know that putting a stop sign is really gonna do anything there.
You would see it in
Yeah, you're not gonna see the car, so.
Would you be able to show us in color where that truck is on that?
Yeah, on the map?
Yes.
Is the room for him to back up 6 feet?
No,
Can we just ask him as a
right
courtesy
here
that he?
on-
Is there somebody?
We can, but we can't make it if he
No, no,
doesn't do it.
I understand that, but
If
that's
you blow
what
the
seemed to
picture up,
solve
he's
our
right
problem.
at the corner.
Yeah,
I
there
mean-
has to be some vehicle
Line
code
of sight.
restriction
Looks
about
like
close
it's
to the
in
corner.
the
Yeah,
No,
15 feet,
It's
10
right
feet,
at it.
12, or something.
it's gonna be by,
Ron, do you see where the cursor is? Sorry.
by stop signs and things like that, crosswalks, things like that, you can't, I gotta think now, it's been such a long time since I've done the vehicle code stuff like that. There might be something as far as intersection, but it might say within an intersection, I don't know if it says,
It's within a clear sight triangle, isn't
that's not in the vehicle code.
Couldn't we
Not
just ask the guy
triangle.
to back up?
Um,
because he doesn't wanna upset his neighbor, probably.
Yeah, but just.
I mean, who wants to look out and see a trailer?
I agree, but it's something fixtures.
But
No.
there's no stop sign right there for it to say that you're within so many feet of the stop sign, there's no crosswalk right there. There's no fire.
There is a walk, right? There's a ramp there.
The triangle.
It's covered.
Just talk to him.
There's
That's what I said.
not a
That's what the
crosswalk going across Van Reed, that's what he's on. There's a crosswalk on Douglas, but he's not on Douglas.
And you hope nobody's coming off Van Reed, turning on to Douglas and hitting the person in the crosswalk. 'cause they
Well, that's
can't
what,
see it.
I get it, exactly, but that's,
If you're making a left where that truck is, if that truck were back 15 feet, you wouldn't have trouble seeing the car coming. So what's the point? I think if you move the truck back.
I mean, it might be simplest to put a sign, no parking here at the corner,
Yeah,
by
right.
putting it back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
story.
Right.
And we define where that is, because again, I don't, without a stop sign there, without crosswalk there, I believe it says in the vehicle code, no parking within an intersection. He's not in the intersection where he's at.
If you put no parking here at the corner, I gotta believe that that guy can walk out of any part of that truck and probably walk into 3 different houses that will park, that he's parking in front of.
Might put it in the 800 as well.
If the truck were backed up by 15 or 20 feet, is there a problem at the other end of the truck?
In the driveway.
That you're gonna be in somebody's driveway or whatever?
Yes.
It's very possible,
Next.
yeah. It's very possible.
You want-
Well, then he can't park there. If you put the sign up there, then he's blocking somebody's driveway.
Well,
Then
yeah,
he's
that's a
gonna have to find
vehicle
another
code
place.
violation, you can't block driveways, things
One
like
accident
that.
for
You know,
years.
you know, this goes along with how long has he been parking the tractor
I
trailer
don't
lot?
know, but can we just
But,
try to
well,
report who and ask?
Hey, I'm all for working with anyone within common sense, but I continue to get the complaint also on Forest Avenue at Reading Boulevard from the two people on neighbors on either side of Forest Avenue that have to deal with seeing the economy roofing truck parked there constantly. And they're tired of looking at it. But we,
A dump truck.
yeah, but I explained to them that we can't do anything because it's under the GVW.
Yeah, that's that driveway over
But,
there.
excuse me,
Sorry. Sorry, not talking to you.
Is this his house?
I don't, I think it is, but I don't know for sure where he lives.
Cause that's, it looks like that's the only driveway.
Yeah, that's gonna be the driveway that would be affected, so that's his house.
And then, I mean, basically after that,
Right.
there's nowhere for it to go.
So whose white truck is that? Somebody else's?
This imagery is from 2019, so who knows?
that's an auto, that's a car dealer, or detailing
Auto, yeah.
shop there.
That's a grandfather non-conforming
Right.
home-based business is what
Right.
that is.
Well, it sort of seems like the answer is if you can move the truck back.
Yeah, but that's not
Yeah.
in front of it parking over there.
I mean, it looks like it's closer if you go forward, right near the fire hydrant.
Well, the fire hydrant's actually facing
Douglas.
Douglas, it's not on Van Reed.
That's basically where this.
You know, So, and the other issue here is that if there's been one incident in 25 years, I think we're wasting our time even talking about this. It's not an issue.
There may be a solution in search of a problem.
Exactly.
Is all of this a result of the Palmer explosion, or is this just?
No, I don't know that, I don't believe he works for Palmer at all. He's a private hauler, I believe, and that's his truck.
Oh, well,
And he lives there, so he parks his truck there. That's what that's about.
Yeah, you don't want him to move in front of somebody else's house.
So like I said, I believe that there may have been other crashes. I'm not saying, what we have been called to and had to investigate, you know, nothing has been because of the line of sight, and we've had 2 crashes in 25 years that have occurred in that block. And as I said, one was a truck backing up because of construction and hit a parked car, and the other was a person on the motor scooter that went over the handlebars avoiding a small animal.
And they took down the wires to
Okay, well, we're just gonna table this and
There's nothing for action on the agenda.
no, it's just,
No.
Mr. Weinhopper was pointing
Look
to our
at,
attention.
did a quick look, see, it looks like it's a 77, or 67 BA code, having to do 212 stopping, standing, parking restrictions, depends on street width, site triangles, and all kinds of stuff. But it is in there.
That's 67 code, that's not the vehicle code. I mean,
Right.
officers,
That's the
that's not
regs
what
that,
we're citing out, but that's what it
that's
does.
the regs that enforce it.
Right.
So if you ask Rick, if this guy moves his truck back 6 feet, you're gonna be happy? Because we can probably ask him to do that.
It's a driveway.
So
It's a
it's
driveway.
not blocking the
What's that?
driveway.
Yeah, that's right, and you can ask him to move it back, you can say, no, I can't, because I'm blocking the driveway. If that's what he says, there's nothing we can do. You can move the truck back 6 feet, everybody's happy.
Is that his driving, the guy that owns the truck?
I'm not
That's
sure,
his
I'm
driveway?
not sure where he went out there, so. But
You
that's
can at
where he
least
parks
ask him if he back it up, that he's too close to the intersection, and hopefully that'll take care of the problem.
And
That's all.
next, as you, I'm sure, are aware, we had a fatal pedestrian accident on Penn Avenue on January 2nd outside the post office. So I went in and I looked at, again, what have we had there over the years. So I again went back to 2000, and I looked at the number of fatal accidents that we had here in the borough. And in total, we've had 24 in 25 years, so about 1 a year. As far,
Fatal?
yeah,
Fatal.
fatal accidents.
Wow.
And looking at that,
Pedestrian accident.
fatal accidents, we label that as a fatal, no matter if it's a car or a pedestrian like that.
Okay.
In that area of the post office, we've had 2. One was in January of 2014, and the second was the one that we just had this year. So then I went and looked at the number of pedestrian accidents that we have had throughout the Penn Avenue. I just looked at since January 1st of 2000, and that we've had a total of 5. The first was in August of 2002, where a flagger was struck. There must have been some construction going on. February of 2011 was the next, pedestrian crossing Penn Avenue north to south. The next was February of 2012. However, when we arrived on location, there was nobody there, so it must not have been very serious, and the person just left.
So is that a 0 or?
February of 16 was the next. Again, there was a person crossing Penn Avenue. August of 18 was our next, where that was a pretty minor one, and we were notified because the person hit actually walked down here to the police department and made the complaint to us. So in total, since January of 2000, we've had 7 individuals struck, 2 individuals
lost their lives from that crash. So 7 in 25 years. So I discussed this with the borough manager, and we contacted the borough's engineer and looking for some suggestions. So what we've learned is, I mean, it's Penn Avenue, it's a state road, but we can regulate parking without getting any kind of permission from the Commonwealth. So what we were looking at here are some suggestions that they're giving is we could restrict parking on Penn Avenue on the opposite side of where the post office is located between Belmont and Trent. And they're suggesting that we may be able to do it except Sundays because of the church right there. Sundays, they're getting people parking there. One of the other things that I looked at, though, is the times of all these crashes, and really, it's between the 5 pedestrian crashes occurred between 7:42 and 3:42, 7:42 in the morning, I'm sorry, and 3:42 in the afternoon, and the 2 fatals occurred between 6:45 in the morning and 5:20. So really, between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. seem to be the time frame when we've having the crashes. So if we were to restrict that parking on Penn Avenue in that location and maybe leave it open Sundays, I think we might be able to also, based upon when this is occurring, maybe make it no parking Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Because the church, I'm sure, in the evenings has Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts or what, you know, the different types of committees they may have meeting at that church. And they may need that parking because they don't really have a lot there. I don't want to really affect their operations there. So they also go on to talk about perhaps between George Avenue and Trent, moving the double yellow lines closer to the parking lot where the works are, and then allowing that extra width to allow parking for people to park on George Avenue right there, or I'm sorry, Hobart Avenue. Oh, it's Burn Road right there, actually. It's Burn Road right there, in front of the parking lot that the post office has right there. So it creates some width so that there's then room for the cars to be parked, and then traffic is still be coming from, say, Russo's, that area coming out, that's in Penn Avenue.
Could I interrupt you for a second? Is there one person that's making this complaint on the entire borough, or who's?
No, we've had, as I said, we just had that fatality, and I'm trying to look at things. I went in to look to see what have we had in this area over the years.
Right, but we're talking specifically about in front of the post office, probably the largest purveyor of services Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Ron, can we let the chief finish?
Yeah, we're just going around in a circle about
No,
the
we're-
entire borough of Wyomissing. It's one section which we're looking at possibly closing down the post office so somebody has to walk around the
what?
block.
No.
Well, if you close off across the street from the post office, there's no way to get to it unless you go to the works and walk around it.
So we are only talking about potentially restricting parking on the south side of Penn Avenue.
Which is right across the street from the door to the post office.
Right in front of Berks.
Correct, but anyone who's crossing the block there is actually also breaking the law by crossing the block. I
And
mean,
that's what they do too.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
But
that's
then-
what everybody in the world does.
Ron, we're also talking about creating additional parking on the lower side of the post office on Burn Road, so pedestrians could literally open their door, get out on the sidewalk, and walk up through the post office property to get in.
That's not even feasible. If you go to the post office any time of the day, particularly in November, December, January, they don't shovel the sidewalk. So if you're behind there with a park the postal trucks, you might as well get, somebody with a dog sled to take you around the corner, up the hill, which you're walking up, then down the hill to get to the front door of the post office, and tell them that's how they get to the post office, because they don't have a window at the bottom there, which would be convenient. Go to the post office, say, hey, we'd like you to put a window down here so people can just park at the Works, walk across the street, and then they can get hit by a car or not, but they can walk across and use that window. But you can either get in the post office in the front, you can't get into it in the back, and there's 1,000 people. I think do a referendum, ask the people who want this, if we're going to shut down that side of the street, and they're going to say no. I mean, I risked my life walking across the street, but if you look both ways, you can walk across the street without getting hit. One person getting hit in 25 years.
You just have
It's
to
not
go in the
easy.
way.
There
A
are
lot
7
more
people
are
on
using
25
Penn
head.
Avenue than they,
That's
than
not
ever.
fun.
Of course.
Well, no,
Okay.
everybody,
Post office
And their
does.
speeds are a lot faster.
And the post office is going to say, you know what, this is a pain in the ass, we're closing the post office, do whatever you want. And all lose the post office, because one person died walking across. More people die walking across the Do-Si-Do in the morning than up the street in the post office.
There's a clear line of sight.
So we were also contacted by Senator Schwenk's office asking that we look at doing something.
So, again, all the ones that I've mentioned were all right there at the post office. Not every pedestrian that we've had hit was there, but the ones that I mentioned were all in and around that area of the post office. So I would say in 25 years, we've had 7 people struck, 2 of whom have died. And I will agree, that post office, I'm sure we all will agree, they get a lot of traffic in and out of there every day. And a lot of people are crossing. So in 25 years, that 7 people struck is a very small percentage of the number of people whom are struck. But again, we were asked to look at, and I'm looking at the numbers so I can present them here to the committee to show you this is what we have. And a possible solution to this would be, we want to try to prevent people from crossing over to get back and forth from the post office, then this is what we can do if we so choose to do it. But it's...
What were the details of your investigation? Like, you found out the driver who hit this person?
They don't see the people crossing. People come out between cars, and
Yeah.
because there's parking in front of the post office, and that, as we know, gets full of cars too.
Well, it's handicap parking, number 1. Number 2, there's I think they may even have taken that window, not the window, but the box down to make people go around the burn and come back in the back way to drop the mail off behind the post office.
No, the box is still in the
The
front.
box is still there, then there's 2 places that you can't park. 1 is in front of the box, 2 is in the handicap
So
space.
the box,
It's
you have to get out of your
facing the
car
Yeah, I
to
know.
go to the sidewalk. So
Yeah.
you can park
Yeah,
on the
you can
street
park
in
in
front of
front
the
of it.
box. Because you
Oh,
can't.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a drive-up.
Okay.
Right, it's
Yeah,
not
it's not
driving,
a
it's
drive up
walk
to the
up.
parking
So
lot.
there's a couple spaces there, but then there's handicap from the driveway they have. It's not a driveway, but it's a ramp.
Walkway.
Walkway.
Yeah, they have two spots. I think that are handicap.
Did the post office, when they changed the parking on their lot, did that change some of this too? Because you used to be able to park in that lower, I don't know what to call it, lot there by the post office, and now you can't because it's employees.
Yep.
They
Now,
park all
so did
those.
that change? You think
I
that
thought the
changed?
employees were parking underneath the building.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to the post office, I park in that lot personally.
Yeah, so does everyone else. You know?
But none of us are
Okay.
saying you should.
That's where I park.
You have the postal trucks, and then you have people that stop there. and
They
walk up
used,
the steps.
the post office used to have an arrangement where their employees could park on the Works lot, and that was canceled. They can't park over there.
I've actually seen a lot of their employees parking over here on Fairview and Belmont, because I think they get to work around the time I'm coming in, and I've seen them in their USPS uniform with their lunchbox crossing the street.
Yeah, but they're
Dodging
parked-
cars.
Yeah, well, yeah.
but they're crossing from the works into the back door. If we park behind there, we don't get to walk in the back door of the post office.
I think when they put up the employee parking or parking only signs, that was, remember they had numbered those spots and people from the works were parking over there on the weekends when it was very busy.
That I don't know,
That
but
was
to
several years ago, but.
to go off of Fred's comment, the USPS employees did have an agreement with the owners of the Wyomissing Industrial Park until the Wyomissing Industrial Park came back for zoning hearing board relief, and as one of the neighbors that requested party status and brought in their own exhibits, the zoning hearing board had never actually approved the Wyomissing Industrial Park, who could not provide its own number of off-street parking spaces for its own tenants, then additionally leasing parking spaces to the USPS. So the point being, you as a property owner who can't provide ample parking to comply with the ordinance for your own uses is now further leasing spaces to another non-tenant of your site so that you can financially profit and still not provide enough parking. So that's when that lease went away.
I've never seen that parking lot filled that far.
Well, unfortunately, the neighbor that requested parking status provided photographic evidence of that happening on multiple occasions that the zoning hearing board had no choice but to take them seriously. Yeah.
But if you're looking at a fixed picture of cars parked there, you don't know what time it is. If it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody left the job and parked there so that the people that come out of there drunk don't run into their car and park over there rather than closer to the bars. But if they're parked there, they're not gonna be parked there at 7 o'clock in the morning, because nobody parks there at 7 o'clock in the morning to get to the post office. That would be forward thinking and answering your problem before it ever existed. Everybody that goes to the post office in the morning comes down the hill, parks on the other side, or they park going up the hill, and they walk in the post office and they go to work.
I think there's some common sense here, you know, I mean, we've all done it. We parked in there, we're in a hurry, we parked there, quick one across the street, but, you know, it's dumb to do that, because with what's coming over the hill, you don't know. Yeah, normally I try to drive around the block and come up the other side, heading west. I'm gonna say at this point, I think we should just table this, you know, it seems like we have, you know, a whole bunch of mixed opinions. I would like to hear what, Judy says about it.
She was encouraging us to do something to restrict parking and went so far as to say if PennDOT was an impediment to us doing so, to let her know if she would happily intervene.
Yeah, because if we try to get, you know, establish a crosswalk there and try to get PennDOT to put signs up there, well, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't even get them to do that at Forest Avenue.
Yeah, I mean, the poor person that passed away, somebody probably called Jimmy Schwank's office and said, hey, you gotta fix this, my grandmother died, you can't bring your grandmother back.
Well, that's speculation.
Well, it is
It's in the newspaper.
So,
It's
yeah, it was written.
Well, you could put a sign on the other side saying 1 hour parking only and see what happens, because they'll stop there anyway, you can't do
Well, that's
anything.
There is a 1 hour parking sign there actually now.
Well, there's no way to solve this problem unless you shut the post office and say, we'll solve the problem for you. There's a post office in Reading, it used to be there, it's not there anymore. But the one down by Albright is still open, you can go down there every morning.
First of all, do you really think the post office is gonna care what we say about parking
No,
on the
they're-
south side of Penn Avenue? I don't think so.
When enough people walk in there and say, can't get in the front door of your post office, they're gonna say, listen, I got enough problems behind this desk, we're gonna close this place, you can go somewhere else.
Okay,
But you mentioned an emergency proclamation for 90 days. Would that be something we do and then see what kind of feedback we get from the patrons?
So Chris made a good point to me this morning. I was acting off of TPD's recommendation to do an emergency proclamation, but in reality it would be more appropriate, since an emergency proclamation is only good for 72 hours, to have council adopt a resolution that would be effective for 90 days to potentially, if there was a decision to amend the ordinance permanently, buy us the time to do that, but we could adopt a resolution to do a test period of no parking on that side, and that would also give the chief and I time to talk to both the USPS and Bowsman to make them aware this is what's coming for at least a 90-day period.
So why don't you ask them first and see what they say, and then come back and see what kind of resolution you pass.
I don't foresee Bowsman having an issue with it, cause
I think we'll get more, I think we'll get more opposition comments from people who utilize the post office,
Yeah,
who
I
are
agree.
driving into town.
Sure.
yeah.
I agree.
That's where you're gonna get a ton of grief, I think.
Plus, if you park on the side where the post office is, getting back into traffic is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because it's
Well,
going up
unfortunately
to the
too,
bottom of the hill.
and even if you have it up there, you're gonna have the mentality, well, I'm only running in to drop a letter in the box inside, or to get stamps, and, you know, I'll be right back out. So hopefully, you know, I won't get a ticket.
I move we table the issue for further consideration.
I'll make that motion.
You second, he seconded.
Yes, he did.
Why did?
Yes.
I thought I heard.
You can't.
Okay, we have a motion to second. All those in favor to table this?
Friends vote.
Aye. Opposed? Yes, he is.
They,
See, that would be why they asked if I was present.
Okay. The ayes have it, table the
Next,
motion for the near future.
I'm asking for a motion to table, approve, or deny a permit application for the annual Berks County Armed Forces Day Parade on Saturday, May 17th, 2025 at 10 a.m. I received everything. If you all remember, Ms. Price came in, I think it was to a council meeting, and said that this was coming, and I have received it.
I like that one.
She's always very appreciative.
Second.
Motion and second
Yeah, yes, I'm glad I heard it.
to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And lastly, I have completed my annual report. Page 4 is the executive summary. I'll just kind of review the executive summary just so you're all aware. We handled 8,909 calls throughout the year. That's our busiest year on record. We arrested 376 individuals. We ended with a 77% clearance rate. We administered naloxone 4 times in the year. We issued a total of 3,632 citations, parking tickets, and warnings. We had 711 total crashes for the year. That's down slightly from the last 2 at 715. So we're usually in the low 700s, it seems. But we had 0 fatalities last year. We patrolled just over 127,000 miles and consumed just over 13,000 gallons of fuel. Through fine monies and grants and things such as that, we brought in just over 234,000, and our expenditures for the year total $3,271,064. I know we've been here a little while, but I hope you all had a chance to review it. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer any at this time.
Any questions for the chief? And I'll just reiterate what I said before, nice job on your annual report.
I mean, honestly, the first one was the toughest. And now that I have the format down, it was a lot easier. Just the time of figuring out the new numbers for everything. So, but as I said, for council in February, I'll put that on my agenda as well for those council members that were here to hear that and members of the public. And then once that's done, I'll put it on our website like I have the others, so anybody can go up and see it.
No. Okay, very good. Anything else, chief?
Nope, that's it.
That's it. Any other questions for the chief? Hearing none, thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned. 1:27.